Welcome, everybody, to Season 2, Episode 8 of Forbidden Radio. I'm joined by my co host, Angel and Noah, and today we have special guest Alexandra Beaumont, an author from the UK. Good morning, Alex. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you. Really thrilled to be here. It's a blustery afternoon in the UK, so we're crossing quite a time barrier.
I know we've got California, South Dakota, and England all on the same podcast, so definitely some scheduling.
Absolutely.
So, Alex, why don't you tell us about your chosen genre?
Yeah, sure. So I am Alex Beaumont. I am a folklore fantasy author. So that's kind of taking all of those fairy tale type traditions and folklore and sort of the stories about the supernatural that we sort of tell to say why you shouldn't get lost in the woods and things like that, and sort of trying to distill it down into fantasy fiction. So I've got 2 books out and 2 more on their way. My latest is one called Dissonance of Bird Song, and that's set in ancient Cornwall. And the idea behind that is basically it's a society of people who live on this cliff top called the Nest in a very sort of suitably for the weather I have today, actually, stormy kind of sea coastal cliff top type area. And they struggle to live in these harsh winters. So they inhale mist from the lungs of birds to help them survive. But the mist is running out, so they are basically so the protagonist, Ezeld, is basically trying to find out why the mist is running out before she gets exiled for losing all her mist. So that's the kind of vibe that I write. It's very sort of naturey, folklore driven, quite wild and visceral. That's me.
So, what kind of myths and legends do you draw your inspiration from for these books?
So this latest one that I was just talking about is ancient Cornwall, and so there's quite a lot of, sort of sea folklore. And so Cornwall, for those who don't know, why would you, is this very sort of coastal bit towards the sort of bottom of the UK, and it's surrounded on 3 sides by sea, so it's very sort of storm beaten and wild, but gets very lovely weather too. But when it's stormy there, it's really stormy there. And so I've taken sort of a lot of the kind of sea stories from Cornwall, which are stories that I grew up with, and sort of tried to build them into my fantasy world, really. So yeah, there's that sort of one key bit of folklore, and there's also quite a lot of folklore about birds, and basically people believe that birds carry the souls of the dead, and so there's like this sacred bond between humans and birds. And so those are the 2 bits that I'm really playing with, really, like the sort of creatures of the sea like merfolk and that kind of thing, and also sort of the sacred link to birds.
Now, you'll have to forgive my ignorance on the geography of England, but is Cornwall near the White Cliffs of Dover?
No, not really. So if you, it's on that same sort of south side of the UK. But if you imagine, so you've kind of got the oily line of the bottom of the south coast, and then you've got this kind of bit, this almost leg that sticks out at the bottom left if you're looking at the map.
Okay, yeah, I see.
Yes.
That's Cornwall, is that like leg that comes out to the left of the island, basically.
Oh, like south of Wales.
Yeah. So yeah, well, Wales is on the left-hand side. Cornwall is kind of like below that, and then further out, to see if you see what I mean.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it. Oh, there's Cornish. That's cool. Awesome.
And then
that's sick.
You have another book called Testament of the Stars.
Yeah, I do. Thanks for the prompt, because I've got very much in the habit of talking about Dissonance of Bird Song, because I'm writing the sequel to that one.
Oh, well, you could keep talking about that one if you'd like.
Talk about whatever you want.
Cool. I definitely should talk about Testament of the Stars as well, because that's my debut fantasy that came out, oh gosh, scarily 4 years ago now, thereabouts, first time, and then I republished it with a bigger publisher. But that one is based on kind of Tudor astrology. So in the Tudor court, they had this belief that if you were born under a certain star, it would set the fate of your life. So I kind of took that and I thought, oh, what would that be like if it was actually a religion instead of just a sort of kooky folklore belief? And so I made this religion very much about the people of this, the people in Testament of the Stars, believing that everything that the stars say to them are kind of sacred. And then it sort of breeds this kind of Romeo and Juliet type civil war between the people who love the stars and hate the stars. So yeah, that's that one, and I've got the sequel to that one, The Astral Tide, coming out this year. So it's feeling like quite a busy year in terms of publishing one thing and writing another.
I'm sure.
Sounds like
Yeah,
it.
I'm going through the same thing right now.
Oh yeah, what are you writing?
So I published my debut horror novella last October, and then I'm trying to publish my second horror novella in April, and then I have a sci-fi novel coming out in July.
Wow, that's to pack in as well, huh?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Luke is a bit of a golden boy here at Forbidden Origins.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
I
always
write.
impressed with people who can get books out that quickly, right?
Oh, it's just I just don't sleep. That's it. That's all it is.
That's the key.
That is the secret.
So,
Yeah, I
Alex,
envy the guy.
how long have you been writing? Like, was this something that you've always done, or is it like a newer project that you found recently?
So it is something I've always done in some form. So I did do my degree with creative writing as part of it, which was
Oh,
really
okay.
cool. But then I kind of real life got in the way, and I sort of didn't really write for a whole load of time. And then I came back to it during lockdown, which I think a bunch of people sort of did kind of do, because then I was no longer commuting to work and things like that. So I used all that extra time to write some books and just sort of see whether I could actually do it and remember how to write. Yeah, and then I randomly managed to get them published, and it all felt a bit surreal.
Yeah, what was that like? When did you realize that you could like actually turn this into a bit of a career?
When I sat down and I was like, okay, I can solidly write 1,000 words a day, and then I realized, okay, I can put some pace behind this and write books quite quickly if I want to. And I should say that's 1,000 words a day because I'm still working full time. So that's like writing in the margins when I'm not doing a job, basically.
Right.
And so, yeah, then I sort of thought, oh, I'll just send it to some agents and some publishers and see what happens. And I was very lucky to find an indie press who took my debut. And then I found an indie press who took my following book as well. And I guess I never really expected that it would happen, but so it sort of felt quite surreal, and it's felt surreal since.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And I see you also play music apart from having a full-time job and writing.
Yeah, which is making me sound slightly like I do too much, which is very much correct. So I grew up playing the cello and singing, and so I wanted originally to be a cellist, but that's like basically eats your life even more than writing does. And so, yeah, recently I sort of took that back up again a little bit just to sing some of the songs that are part of the inspiration behind the book Dissonance of Bird Song that I was talking about. So yeah, it's sad to let sort of skills die, isn't it? So I sort of thought if I try and do an album, like a concept album linking to the book, then at least I've like done something with it in my life,
Yeah, no,
That's
that's
cool.
Absolutely. That's really cool how you can take your different skill sets that you've gotten over a lifetime and like are able to like meld them together into something.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said for that, isn't there? Like, I know a lot of people sort of try and do art of their books and try and, or like do their own comics and things like that, don't they? And like, I guess that's a similar thing, but I definitely can't draw, so this was my only option.
Yeah, same. Can't draw anything.
I do like how you're trying to link the music to your book, because I want to see more of that from authors in general, because the only other time I've seen that was, it's funny, DC, they had an event with their comics called something metal, and they actually had at the end of the comic a Spotify link, and they made a playlist of music to listen to while you were like reading this comic. And I thought, yeah, I thought that was pretty sick, and I want to see more artists kind of do that, or more authors do that with their books. Like, here's some music that will go with this. Either like you made it, or it's something that you want, that you feel like is like it's very thematic with the book.
Like
you
a
know?
soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it sort of sets the tone for it a bit as well, doesn't it? Because then you kind of know, yeah, you know the vibe what you're getting into as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's actually kind of a dream of mine too. Because I was in band in school, so I know how to like read music, and I used to play saxophone. I haven't played it in years, but
Oh, nice.
yeah, I've been wanting to get back into music, and so I've been like practicing guitar, and I'm trying to learn piano. And I was thinking the same thing, like it'd be cool to write songs that like link to the stuff that I'm writing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you totally should, because I think it just like opens a whole other way of thinking about things, doesn't it? And then, yeah, for me, it's helped me sort of then launch back into writing the sequel to the series, because then I'm kind of like, oh yeah, now I know, now I'm again like in the vibe, you know?
Yeah, it puts you in that
What I-
headspace of like the world that you're building.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is that I need to get Angel contracted to do the soundtrack for my book in July for Forbidden Origins.
Oh, there's no way I'm
Damn.
gonna be good enough to play by July.
Nope, expectation is set now.
Okay.
You have to get good.
But yeah, now I have a
like,
commitment.
4 months, it'll be fine. There you go.
Oh my god. So, okay, so I always like to ask guests this because I feel like it helps give me more of like an insight on how like their writing process works.
Mm.
Alex, what are you like watching anything? Are you like what are you watching right now? Movie wise, TV wise, if you watch anything at all?
Yeah, I do. I'm watching the June series actually, which is nothing at all related to the genre that I write, but I really love what they did with the recent June films, and so it was really cool to find out that they've just done the sort of TV series of it as well. I don't know if anyone's picked it up, but it's actually really good. I've just watched the first episode, and yeah, I love it. It's got all of the sort of atmosphere and the soundtrack of the films, so yeah, super good. And also as a complete counterpoint to that very serious sci-fi, Red Dwarf. If any of you have watched Red Dwarf, you'll know how silly it is.
Red Dwarf is a classic.
Yeah. Can't go
Never
wrong with
actually
Red.
heard of Red Dwarf. Let me see.
Yeah, me neither.
What is that
It's,
about, Red Dwarf?
it's a classic like comedy sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is it kind of like what's what's that thing that came out the Orville? It's like a Star Trek parody. Is it like that?
Yeah, but it's not. Well, I guess it is parodying stuff, but it's not. It's not like a direct parody of Star Trek or Star Wars or anything like that. But it's basically tells a story about a spaceship, Red Dwarf, that the whole crew died on it except like 2 people, and so it's them trying to survive deep space. But I'd say it's kind of like a bit like Monty Python in space. It's probably the easiest way I can explain it.
Oh, I can get behind that. I like Monty Python.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's not a direct kind of like parody type show, but I mean they definitely do a lot of like referential stuff to existing sci-fi tropes and things like that, but it's very distinctly its own story and has very like distinct British humor. But like I remember watching it when I was younger, and it was hard for me to get into it first, and then I got super into it for a long time.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
yeah.
you're right. It's very distinctly British, isn't it? Like,
It is.
Oh, this looks good. This looks good. Yeah, no, I've watched some British stuff. You know, Doctor Who, Sherlock. So, I even like the British version of The Office, which I know came out first, right? So, yeah, I should be able to get behind this. So,
yeah, you have
Cool.
to let me know what you think.
yeah,
add
thank you.
it to
Honestly,
your list of things to try.
yeah, hell yeah. You hear that, Angel? You gotta watch this.
Oh yeah, let me just add it onto my list.
We need to
I-
actually make a list.
That would
Yeah,
be
we need to sit
a
you down.
never-ending list.
Yeah, we have a running joke here, Alex, that Angel doesn't watch anything. So,
and I don't.
Yeah.
You mentioned Dune, and it's been out for like what, 5 years probably, and I barely watched the first movie like last week.
Oh,
How'd you like
okay.
it?
What did you think?
I thought it was amazing. I love the world building. I love the characters. I love Paul Atreides.
Yeah.
It did seem like the first one is just mostly setup for like the second one and then further on. So I'm excited to watch the second one because it did seem to get interesting towards the end.
Yeah, they sort of bounce on quite quickly, I think, into like developing those characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, enjoy
Thank
the
you.
second one. It gets dramatic.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got kind of peer pressured into watching it by this dude in my creative writing class. He was like trying to talk to me about it, and I was like, "Oh, I haven't seen it." He was like, "You have to watch it," and he would like email me through our like school app, and he was like, "Have you watched it yet?" And so I had to sit down and watch it, but I did
Yeah,
enjoy
that's
it.
a lot of pressure.
Yeah, if it's not his schoolmates, it's us pressuring him into watching something. So,
Yeah, or my siblings, or my friends, or my parents.
So,
Sounds alright.
okay, so Red Dwarf
So
Dune.
Alex,
Oh, good.
what is your favorite bit of folklore that most people might not know about?
Gosh, that's a good one. I feel like I've just talked about a bit of it. I really like, there's a bit of Scottish folklore, so going to the other end of the UK now. It's she's called the Little Washerwoman, basically, and it's kind of dark, so apologies for that. But basically she is kind of a ghost-like figure. She gets seen washing laundry in the rivers and brooks around Scotland, and the idea behind it is if you see her washing the laundry, it's kind of like a dark omen that death is in your path type thing. And we love death omens in the UK, they're everywhere. But I think this one's quite sort of niche because it's quite unusual, and there's some really beautiful art on the internet of it. So yeah, quite a sort of odd one, I guess, because you wouldn't normally associate a washerwoman with being like an omen of death, and yet there it is.
Yeah, I just looked it up, and there is no way that I would be able to pronounce this Gaelic name.
It's
Wait,
something
how do you
I
spell it?
might get really wrong, but I think it's Bian Nai.
Yeah, that looks like it checks out, and you would know better than I would.
I'm not Scottish, so not guaranteed. It's quite complicated.
I'm looking
I
at it
mean,
right
my-
now. You're right. It is. There's some really nice art of this. Terrifying, but it's nice.
Yeah, it is. It's very very sad. Oh,
It is.
except for that one. That one's just terrifying.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to look this up again and see what you're finding.
I mean, like the first row of pictures just shows like a washerwoman by the river, and then like in the second row of pictures, it's the same kind of vibe, but it's a screaming skull.
Yeah, the screaming skull ones are pretty good.
Yeah, send that to me. Looks like he's in the edit.
So Alex, looping back to like movies and TV shows, I was gonna ask about books. Do you read at all? I mean, I'm guessing you do since you're a writer, but what type of stuff do you read, and what was the last thing you read?
So I finished a book this morning, so this is timely.
Oh
wow. So I read a lot of folk horror, and if you sort of pick up my books, you'll realise that there's quite a lot of folk horror within them. So the book I've just read is called Scuttler's Cove. It's by David Barnett, and it's in a similar genre to how I'm writing, but his is set in the modern day, but it's again like Cornish folk horror basically. And it's about this place, Scuttler's Cove, where the people sort of revere the land and make sacrifices to the old gods of the land, but then it kind of, as with all good folk horror, goes wrong in a quite unexpected way. I definitely recommend it. But yeah, so folk horror is probably like my big one because it's kind of fantasy adjacent, and so I think folk horror, sort of folklore and fantasy sort of go really well together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also been like folk horror, and particularly I think is having its moment at the moment. It's kind of come back like since the days of the Wicker Man. There's now a bit of a resurgence of it. And so there's been some really good TV as well. Like, I don't know if anyone checked out The Third Day. Sorry, I know I've gone back to TV media, but yeah,
No,
there's
that's
loads
fine.
of good, like, books and TV folk horror right now, which is happy times for us, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
What's
in
the
my
third day
first
about?
book, I wrote.
Sorry, did I cancel it? Did I cancel us out? I just asked what the
I know
third day is about.
you're all good.
Sorry, what's The Third Day about? Was that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's set on this island. So there's this bit of again, sort of a bit further south in England again. There's like this kind of river stretch with some islands in it, and the third day is set on one of those islands. So they're kind of tidal in that you can only get across to them like once a day, or once or twice a day, and the third day is about this man who goes back there, played by Jude Law, and he sort of discovers that he's kind of was meant to be there or was there all the time. It's really hard to explain the third day without ruining it. So there are 6 episodes, and it tells 2 parts of the story. And then what they did, which was quite interesting, that admittedly I didn't sit through all of, but they did 24 hours of consecutive filming of like the midpoint of the story where the significant thing happens to the main character. And so they filmed just back to back, like the life of the cult on the island, which is really interesting because to my knowledge, there's not been any other sort of media that's done that, where like they've just filmed the activity of a cult for a day. Pretty unusual.
Yeah. Is it like
Sounds good, though.
religious at all? Because like the third day, like Jesus.
Yeah. It is, but not in the way you expect.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm
It's
sensing
kind
that's
of
like a bit
fake.
of a spoiler.
Yeah, I'm trying not to spoil it.
Yeah. Okay, you're fine.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'd be interested in your recommendations as well. Sounds like you're all well up on this stuff.
I always recommend this to people. It's okay, hold on. What's the show? It's on Netflix. It's about this town, and a vampire shows up.
Oh, it's a
town on an
Midnight
island.
Mass.
Midnight Mass. That one is really, really good.
Cool, okay. Yeah, I'm
Midnight
not
Mass is an amazing movie or amazing series.
Yeah,
do like vampires, so
yeah. It's a
Oh,
whole
you would
thing
love
where
Midnight Mass then.
yeah, it's funny because it's portrayed as a vampire, but then you question it, and it's pretty cool how they make you question it if it's actually a vampire or not. So yeah, that's
Nice.
definitely a good one. So
cool. Yeah, I'll have a
Yeah.
look at that. Thank you.
I'm not gonna lie, it definitely like wrapped me all up in my pre-existing religious trauma and made me cry in one episode.
Oh god.
I can see that.
Cool. That sounds heavy.
Yeah,
It is. It's a heavy show, but it's so good.
Cool.
yeah. There's people questioning their Christianity. People questioning. There's a small Muslim family, and they're questioning that their faith in Islam too. So it's pretty cool. Well, not for them, but like the how like they have these 2 different religions, like, and people are questioning what's going on. Like, do I believe, like, what's going on here? So
Yeah.
yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah, really sounds interesting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot of deep moral and philosophical questions presented, like in the course of the narrative, in such a way that it doesn't interrupt the narrative, but continues to like add flavor to all the characters. So they paint the picture so beautifully, and have these discussions and make you ask questions as the watcher of the show without ever ruining the narrative.
Mhm.
Yeah, that sounds real good. I mean, I like it when you get stuff like that, and it's because there's sometimes too much sort of, I guess, fantasy and sci-fi that just exists in its own bubble. And actually, what I really like is when you get stuff like that holds a bit of a mirror up to the real world, as well as like telling you a fantasy story. It just adds another layer, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for
very much. I'm the kind of person that I tell people all this, right? I'm a gamer, right? I love video games. And in the mainstream, Call of Duty is kind of seen as like the mainstream McDonald's of like video games, right? And I love playing that, but then I also like playing more deeper games. Like there's this game called we always bring this up, huh, Angel? Like Elden Ring.
Oh yeah.
And like both. It's like to me, it's like food. I can eat steak, but I also enjoy like fast food. So like I like both. But then again, you know, I'm American. I like my food, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually played Elden Ring yet, but it's on my list of ones to try. So yeah, it's good to know it's good.
Oh no, we're about to go on another Elden Ring tangent, aren't we?
Elden Ring tangent.
There we
too.
go.
Last episode, we had a guest on 2 days ago, and me and Noah just kind of went off on a tangent for like 20 minutes about that video game.
To be fair, she asked about
She did
recommendations.
ask.
So.
She did ask.
So you're a gamer too, Alexander?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Do you play many games?
Yeah, I do. I've always been a big gamer. I'd say Elder Scrolls are probably like up there for me and I guess it's a bit of a cliche. But yeah, I've always really enjoyed Elder Scrolls. Yeah, one of my well, I've recently played Baldur's Gate, as I'm sure have most people, right?
That's a good one.
Lost an insane amount of time to playing Baldur's Gate. But yeah, I think one of the things that I enduringly enjoyed about Elder Scrolls was how much folklore and like world building that they did with that. But yeah, I'll play like a whole range of games. I really liked the Mass Effect series actually, just kind of going to sci-fi solid games.
That's a good one too. That's a good. I actually replayed the entire trilogy. I want to say like a month ago. So.
Did it hold up though? Was it as good as you remembered?
Story wise, yeah. Gameplay wise, the first one I was like, oh god. But
Yeah.
no, like I didn't grow up playing these games because we didn't have like a whole lot of money. But like I always kept tabs on it because you know YouTube, I watched YouTube a lot as a kid, and I remember the drama for Mass Effect 3. How why are there 3 endings? Like why is it like color coded? But then you go back and you play it, and it's just. It didn't really matter to me, I guess, because I played other games. I don't know if that's like a factor in it, but I still enjoyed Mass Effect 3. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just it's such a good game, isn't it? I mean, like you, I didn't have a game console really growing up for similar money reasons. But yeah, so kind of came to a bunch of it quite late. But yeah, like Mass Effect 3, just the storytelling is like next level, isn't it?
Yeah, you could really feel the galaxy is just at war. You know, like there's like very few safe places, very few places to go that's safe. And you're trying to get these resources together to fight back, and it's just you feel the pressure. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other good games that I've really enjoyed now.
You played The Witcher 3?
Yeah, Witcher 3. How have I not mentioned this? This is literally one of my favorite games of all time.
That sounds about right. Yeah, given what you like to write about. So.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I did a Witcher LARP. I don't know if you know much about live action roleplay. I assume you do because you all seem like you're in that like wheelhouse. But I can explain what it is for your listeners if you need.
Oh, please do, because I'm so
familiar
lost.
with live action roleplay. But yeah, you should explain it for them.
I've never done it. I know what it is, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's basically like Dungeons and Dragons, so where you're sort of doing the sort of tabletop type roleplay, telling stories and that kind of thing, and playing characters, except you do it in a field or a cave or something like that, in a costume, and you create your sort of character in the real sort of space, in that you have your own weapons and you go and fight things, and yeah, it's very good fun. Like if you haven't ever done LARP, I definitely recommend giving it a try at least once. It's definitely not for everybody, but there's just something about the immersion and the storytelling that is next level. So yeah, I played a Witcher LARP, which it was in a cave actually, and it was just like slightly mind-blowingly awesome in terms of like living within that world for a weekend was like slightly crazy. And they had all these like really good puppets of the monsters and things from the game. So yeah, getting proper Witcher 3 throwbacks now.
Oh, that's awesome. So it was like a big like production. I thought it would just be like you and some friends LARPing.
Oh no, yeah, it was a production with like a company running it and stuff, or like a LARP
awesome.
group running it. So we've got quite a lot of LARP in the UK where there's lots of different things. So yeah, it was pretty good. Had some good folk horror vibes in that as well, actually.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I've always wanted to try live action role playing, but never been able to find one in any of the places that I lived. I just go to Renaissance festivals and dress up.
Well, okay. I mean,
I
there
feel like
is
that's
a bunch.
pretty close.
Yeah, it's close. I feel like there's a bunch in the States though, right? Because like it has sort of taken on like a bit of a sort of following there now. I think, right? Have I got that right?
Yeah,
Usually you're near larger cities, you'll find LARP groups, but I always tend to live out in the middle of nowhere.
Understandably, and good idea, right? Who wants to be in a city?
yeah, you're right about it taking off, but it's also incredibly expensive.
Really? Okay. Like to
Yeah,
buy the costume or to pay for the game?
for no, for like the Renaissance fairs and all that and the LARPing, it's like the Renaissance fairs. It's kind of a barrier to entry. Last I
Wha-
checked, there's like 2 near me, and it's like $100 just to get in for like one day.
Whoa,
So
that's crazy.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
and given how people are trying to hoard their money these days, I mean, understandably, it's kind of just like you have to pick and choose what you're going to spend it on. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's just like, well, I mean, I want food, so
yeah. That's quite expensive because it would cost like a LARP event roughly costs £100 for a weekend here.
you got to keep in mind too. I live in California where things are way more expensive sometimes, so that's probably it too.
Yeah.
So it might differ. Like it might differ for where Luke lives or where you live, you know. So it probably does differ.
Yeah,
And
so
actually,
there's a Renaissance festival relatively close to where I am, and like just for a single day ticket to get in is like $12 for one adult. But
Hmm.
I mean, that's just to get in. Once you're in there, all the different activities and food and everything, it gets real expensive real quick.
mhm.
Yeah, I can see that. Because it's
Yeah,
a
I heard they're
captive.
fun though. Damn, did we cancel each other out again?
Yep.
Sorry, Alex. We have, you gotta understand, we have ADHD, the three of us, and we cancel each other out sometimes. So
Yeah, we just like all
Oh.
try to talk at the exact same time, and then we just all go quiet because we're trying to let the other person talk.
I do that all the time, so I totally relate. Don't worry.
oh my god. As you were saying,
I can't remember. Sorry.
We were just
Also
talking
a
about
common
this
thing
too.
that
Yeah.
happens.
oh lord, Jesus Christ. Just let you know we're at 12 minutes till you gotta take off, Alex. Just letting you know,
Oh,
okay?
cool. Thank you. Good heads up because yeah, I definitely just waffle about games for like ever.
Absolutely.
Oh no.
Oh.
So
What else have you played?
God, now putting me on the spot. I'm currently playing Stray. Have you played Stray?
Yes.
oh yes.
That's really cute, actually.
hmm
Yeah, I just kind of wanted a bit of a reset game that wasn't like the really big ones. Yeah, and I've just heard that there's going to be a new Witcher game, right? Did I remember that right? I think I saw someone say that
Yes.
coming out.
Witcher
Which,
4.
yeah, which like for that, I'm definitely holding out for some good things.
Oh, right. I remember hearing about The Witcher 4 and how a bunch of people were complaining about having a female protagonist. Per usual, just complaining.
Oh my god.
I
Typical
don't get
gamers.
that. Yeah, I don't get that though because Ciri was already like kind of a main character anyway.
Yeah, she was being
Yeah,
set up
she's-
to take over.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
clearly, right? Like inevitably.
I know she's established in the lore, and I mean I've never understood. Like I remember growing up and playing like Sega Genesis, and there was this game called Golden Axe, and you could pick from 3 characters. It was like a male barbarian, like an older dwarf character, and then like a female fighter. And I always loved playing the female fighter because she had the best moves. I mean, she had the best moves. She had the best powers. And my friends would give me crap all the time, like, "Oh, you're playing a girl." I'm like, "Oh, she's a badass and she's kicking your ass, so suck it."
Pretty much, right? Yeah. Well, all
Yeah.
power to you is like I don't get it when people get weird about this, but I know that there's a whole thing. I did what was it? I was on a podcast ages back now, which was kind of about like weird fiction and Lovecraft stuff with a bunch of friends of mine. And they got trolled on the internet for for daring to have a woman come and talk about Lovecraft on their podcast.
Oh my god.
How dare they?
Yeah, right. It was slightly weird.
It's
So they'll
it's
probably
very weird.
find this. They'll probably find this now and then.
Oh god.
Oh, Don't worry, Alex. We love to talk shit. So like we'll get in trenches with. I will at least.
Yeah, Noah will fight on
It's
your
like-
behalf.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
totally
it just I don't know. I've never like it's okay. So I was kind of raised right by my parents. So I've never understood like these incels and these alt-right people who like lose their shit over that. It's just like, dude, do you not have a mom or like an aunt or a sister? Like, what do you care if like a woman is taking like center stage in a video game? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
it just boils down to like misogyny or like
Yeah, then that's
fragile
literally
toxic
it.
masculinity.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean-
we're not in the kitchen. That's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's literally what they're yeah, that's literally what their whole thing is about. It's like, dude, did you never have a girlfriend? Like, what's going on here? Like, come
Yeah.
on now.
I think it's just like a basic lack of empathy, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I
I-
mean, I made the flippant kitchen comment just as a joke, but
Yeah, yeah,
like,
Yeah.
I always think with any of these things, like whether or not it's to do with like women in gaming or whatever, but empathy takes us a long way with like every kind of situation in life. Like if we just imply a bit of empathy, we're kind of cool, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a part of it is like especially like if somebody grew up in the action movies of like the 80s where all the characters were, you know, like white men. It was easier for them to like put themselves in that situation and imagine themselves in that situation, and seeing anybody else as like the star of that, they can't put themselves in that role, and it challenges those preconceived notions that they have, and it makes them uncomfortable, and they respond to that uncomfortability with anger.
mhm.
I
would like to-
agree with you, Luke, but I have a pushback on that because Ellen Ripley in the Alien series was really big back then, and growing up, like it's like she's super popular, and that's just
Yeah.
one example. And it's like
But-
if you loved aliens, like what's the issue here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't get that
But
either.
if those movies were released today, there would probably be huge outrage.
Oh, for sure.
Yes, there's like Prey. When Prey came out, the Predator movie, people were losing their minds because it starred a Native American woman.
But that was really good. I thought that film was excellent, right?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was super good.
Yeah.
So
God, we
It
got
did
some
get-
real talk in the like last 4 minutes, didn't we?
yeah, we did. If you guys want to move on from this heavier topic, go ahead.
Oh, I
well,
was gonna.
I wanted to ask Alex. You
Go
go
ahead.
first, Angel.
I was just gonna loop back to Elden Ring and say that if you do like, because you mentioned you like the mythology and world building that some games have, Elden Ring's
Yeah.
world is like super in depth, where like it is kind of hard to like figure out what's happening because of the way it's set up is like you learn most things from NPC dialogue and like item descriptions, but the lore does go deep. So if that's something that you like, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, I think I'd love it. My concern is it will eat my life, just like
Oh, for
Baldur's
sure.
Gate eat my life.
Yeah. That's fair.
It will.
But maybe when I've finished writing the next book, then I'll allow myself some time to play
Little
that.
treat.
Yeah,
Little recharge.
pretty much. Really good.
Well, I know that you have a hard stop time, so I wanted to ask if there was anything you wanted to leave our listeners with, or anything about like your future works or anything like that before we have to let you go.
Gosh, that's a really good one. I should have definitely thought in advance of a summary thought. I mean, I think I'd just say if you vaguely have a sort of interest in like folklore and slightly alternatively told fantasy stories, I definitely recommend like check out Dissonance of Bird Song out of all my works first, because that's the one I think that really I felt like I clicked and understood how to like tell a good story and weave in folk horror with it, with that book. And other people have clearly thought so as well, because it actually got a distinguished favourite in the Independent Press Awards this year. So I again kind of going back to that comment about like how it all feels quite surreal as a starting out author, because like simultaneously you are getting like a bunch of really enthusiastic people like in this conversation, and then like in sort of people doing the Independent Press Awards, and I was so grateful for that. And then on the other hand, like it does just feel like when you're trying to promote yourself on social media, you are just slightly screaming into the void. So
Oh, yeah.
it's a surreal one. That was a bit of a rambling ending thought. But yeah, basically, if you are thinking of checking out my work, check out Dissonance first, I would say.
Absolutely. I added it to my TBR.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we'll be adding in links down below to your stuff. So
Perfect. Sounds good. Yeah, and we should definitely talk about more gaming at a future point. Maybe when Witcher 4 is out.
Oh, there we go.
sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan indeed.
All right.
Cool.
Well,
Well, lovely to talk to you all. It's been super fun. And these 45 minutes have whizzed by, so cheers.
yeah. Thank you so much for joining us.